Hey everyone, how is everyone's holidays been going? I had a little defect. You see how the lighting is? I had a little complication and I am now here. It is 8 o'clock. We're going to talk about boundaries. We have a guest speaker that we would like to invite in our circle, and her name is Cynthia, and she's going to be talking about boundaries with children. She's going to be talking about boundaries probably with adults. If we don't have boundaries, then it's a hard life to live. So I am inviting Cynthia in, and we're going to do a cleansing. Let's cleanse this negative energy that is on us, and let's shake it off. Shake it off. Shake it off. Cynthia is slowly coming through. I just want to say hello to Tamara and Lana. Thank you for joining us. There she is, looking like
I am.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I am so glad that you did not have trouble getting in.
Yes, I'm glad I made it.
I'm glad you made it too. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself. What made you want to become a parent coach? That's the first question.
Uh, um, my own transformation. So I received parent coaching, and it was so transformational for my family because I was a really angry mom. Like I loved my kids, but I didn't know how to connect with them on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard the mission of being a parent coach to help parents connect with their kids, to help people who obviously love their kids, but maybe we didn't have the skills growing up, it wasn't modeled for us. I was
Right.
like, oh, we could give our kids so much better. I want that. I want to do that.
That's awesome. Okay, so you want to talk about boundaries, and I wanted to know a couple of questions. And anybody out there who wants to ask Cynthia a question, just put it in the comments, and we will get to you, and we will answer your questions. Um, what types of problems do parents have with setting boundaries?
Setting boundaries can be really tricky because it takes a lot of awareness. And usually what we're doing as parents is
Bring up your camera just a little bit. Yes, now we can see.
um, usually what we're doing as parents is we're reacting. So it's not like we thought about this beforehand and, this is what I really feel about this issue. It's not usually that. It's usually like, you've been on that video game for 2 hours. Now you better get off or you're losing all your privileges, right? Like, so it's usually a reaction in the moment. And that doesn't go well for us because it's not sustainable, right? Because we either swing one way, which is like way too harsh, and then, our children are pushing back and it doesn't feel fair and we feel bad. Or then, or they feel bad and we go, oh, wow, that was too much. So, okay, whatever. Or we're tired and we let it go. And then we have no boundaries and then we feel angry and resentful.
Okay. Okay, that is true. That sounds completely like me when I was, yeah, when I was raising my children. It was just like, okay, okay, okay. I'm tired of the screaming. Go ahead and just do what you need to do. Just be quiet.
Yeah, path of least resistance.
Okay. What is the difference between a boundary and a rule or a punishment?
So I think a boundary in terms of keeping us safe. So our boundaries are designed as to keep us safe, to keep our kids safe, to keep our sanity intact. Um, and a rule can feel very arbitrary. Maybe we have a rule because somebody else in our family has that rule.
Yes.
Maybe we have, maybe it's a reaction to something. I'm going to set this rule down, right? And what do you hear as a kid when you hear a rule?
I don't like you.
I don't want to do that. That's something I want to go against, right? Whereas a boundary is more, it's just our parameters of what we're comfortable with and what keeps our kids safe.
Okay. Alrighty. So, say for instance, you have siblings, and you know that the middle child, either he is too young to do what the oldest child is doing, or is just a baby, and but he's too little, he's too big to be a baby. So, when you have stuff like that, um, how do you set your boundaries to everybody can do what they need to do and feel comfortable?
Yeah, like sometimes I tell my kids, because I have an age range of kids, that, it's not going to be fair. It's not, because I'm not doing this to make it exactly the same for everyone. I'm doing this to meet your needs in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes my 8-year-old cannot watch the same movies that my 13-year-old does. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like that, it's not an appropriate movie for you. He's more developed. We can do something else that's fun. But my boundary is that we're going to watch age appropriate movies. Something that you can handle is not going to give you nightmares. Um, so
Okay.
it doesn't always have to be fair. I try to tell them life's not fair. It can't be fair all the time, but I'm trying to do what's best for you.
Right. Okay, so does it work? Does it work? I mean, when they start arguing back with you, what is the boundary if they get a little loud? No, I don't want it. Where does can you help us with that boundary?
Yeah, that's great. Because that happens, right? Like that's real life. Um, so I think part of it is expecting the pushback. So expecting it not to go smoothly all the time, I think is like half of it. Because then
Mm-hmm.
you can be like, I don't need to react to this. Like that feeling confident in your boundary. So if you don't feel confident in your boundary, which is fine. Sometimes you'll go, oh wait, do I even really that? Is that even really that important to me? But if you feel confident in your boundary, you can hold it even when there's pushback. And then setting, right? So you are allowed to be upset about this. I get it. You're super frustrated. You wanted to watch the new Ghostbusters movie too, and you can't. I'm sorry. Like, do you need a hug while you cry? You're yelling. You're yelling. Okay, you're angry. You cannot hit me. So um, if you're hitting me, then I'm going to hold your arms down so you're not hitting me. I'm going to make sure we're both in a safe space so you're not hitting me. You're, that doesn't feel good. I'm sorry. And just knowing they're allowed their feelings, but what are the behaviors I'm willing to tolerate and what am I not? I'm going to move to another room to see if, because I'm holding it with my hand, to see if I can set this up. You see the inside of my restroom?
See, you didn't even have to tell us. We would have just adapted. We would have just adapted. So it's okay to hold down the arms. It's okay to hug tight. It's okay to give that love when they're kicking and screaming, and you're just like, okay, it's okay.
I think it depends on the age. It depends on the age. So for a really young kid, if they're throwing a tantrum and hitting, we're not going to hit. Let's go to our calm down space, distraction. I would say holding down is kind of a final resort if you had to. For an older kid, obviously, there's more issues there, right? If they're hitting and they're a teenager, or if there's some other stuff. But yes, our responsibility is always to keep ourselves safe too, right? Like modeling that. Mommy is respect. Mom, we don't hit our siblings. If you're hitting a sibling, I will move you away physically if I have to. But then also being very careful. Am I angry when I'm touching my kids? So if I'm angry, my rule is I do not touch my kids.
Okay.
I feel like it would compound. And I want to model that touching them when I'm angry, or for them to touch anyone when they're angry. So that's something that we model first for our kids.
Okay. And if there's anyone who would like to ask Cynthia any questions about boundaries or give advice, they are welcome to put it in the comments. Um, I do have a parent who has a teenager, and she pouts. She pouts about everything. It's like there's no satisfying her if, the rules stay that you are not allowed to eat in your bedroom. So what happens is the father goes in the bedroom and there is potato chips, there is empty bottles of water, there is this and that underneath the mattress. So their boundary is don't eat in your bedroom. But is it being followed? No. 13 years old, not being followed, care less, and the anger comes out. So instead of bringing that anger, what can I tell this parent to do for their daughter?
Well, I think one of the things is really establishing a boundary with our kids. So they're involved in the process of creating some of these boundaries, especially as they get older. So it's not just, you can't, like a blanket rule. Like sometimes we'll make a blanket statement and they're like, that makes no sense. But if we can involve them, so maybe they work together and it's something like, okay, I can have water, but I have to now I have a trash can in my room to put the water bottles when they're empty, or I have to clean out the water bottles once a week. I, am I able to have snacks, or is this, understanding the results, like this will, this may invite critters into my room that I don't want in my room. This could, having those discussions, because sometimes a 13-year-old, they're not thinking it through. They don't understand little critters coming into the room until you go, this is what attracts them, trash and crumbs. Yeah, so I think where I'm available, where can I eat my snacks then? I don't want to be in the living room with all my little siblings. They're annoying me. Where can I have this? Is it, or is there other issues going on? Am I eating in private because I'm upset? Am I eating, so kind of diving in with our kids about like seeing what's really going on and then establishing some boundaries together.
Okay. That sounds wonderful. I have another parent who has came to me. She has two little boys, and late at night, that's when snacks. It's snack, 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 and it's like, okay, but it's time to go to bed. That's where you get the screaming, you get the yelling. I don't want to. And what does she do about that? There's a 3-year-old, and I think the other one is about 5, 3 and 5. But it's like when it's bedtime, that's when I get rah! And I want snacks. I want snacks. Lay down. I want snacks. What kind of boundary can I offer her?
Oh, I think it really depends on the situation. So it's all about what time are these kids going to sleep? When was dinner? How many hours was dinner before bedtime? Are they allowed to snack after bedtime? Sometimes I give my kids a snack before bed, before they brush their teeth, because I'm like, whatever, or have a glass of milk or something. So that the parent can feel confident that the child is full, then it will help them the boundary when the child is back.
Okay.
Right? Because if we start getting in our head, well, maybe that's like the worst fear as a parent. Like, maybe I didn't feed them enough. Oh my gosh, am I saying that? Are they hungry? And then you're going, okay, well, then you can have it. But if you know you are fed, there's nothing wrong with you. What else can I offer in terms of comfort instead of food? Do you need mommy to read you? Do you need a hug? Do you want to cuddle for 5 minutes before? So maybe finding a replacement, because sometimes our kids also fall into that pattern, right? And then they're allowed to be upset. The hard part is we can't control our kids' reactions. We are responsible.
Okay. So it is okay to have a child that's upset. It is okay. You're not a bad parent. Is that what I'm hearing from you? You're not a bad parent.
Exactly. You're not a bad parent. Your kid is saying, I hate you, I want a snack. That's okay. And they feel like that for 10 minutes, right? Often. And if it's just a normal developmental, upset about not having what they want, that's okay. Problem is when we're, that triggering for us, which often it is, like if your kid is yelling at you or having a tantrum, that's often triggering for us. And I feel like some of those tools you talked about with one of your guests a few weeks ago, taking a deep breath, taking a step away, going outside for a breath of fresh air, a glass of cold water, so that we can be calm, that's the best gift we can give our kids. We can always go back and reestablish a boundary later, but the most important in the moment is calming ourselves down when we're upset.
Okay. Okay, because that's when we lash out. Because, I mean, you're tired. You just came home from work. You already fed the children. It's bedtime. And now you're hearing a lot of no's where, you know, in other generations, there was no no. You was not allowed to feel. You was just do. So now this time where children are now expressing themselves, I want the safeness because we are trying our best not to go backwards. So that's where I wanted to know, when your child is screaming at you, what stops you from not just, especially if you're in that trigger mode. I mean, I know you observed, you did everything that you were supposed to, and your child is screaming, he had a bad day at school, and you're just like, what do you do personally? He knows the boundaries. Yeah, he's 8, you know. Your other child is 13. They know that boundary. It's like they see your face. They see that you're tired. What stops you and lets you to remind, what makes you remind them that there is a boundary here? Don't yell at me.
Yeah, I think in my more with attitude, like than the straight out yelling, but it's like the eye roll, the the grumpy attitude. But if I'm dysregulated, if I'm upset and I'm like, I'm gonna say something I'm gonna regret, I'm like, I'm very clear. I'm like, I need a timeout. Mommy needs a timeout because this is really hard for me. So I'm gonna take a minute in this room, and you can take a minute over here. And when we are ready to say kind words, then we can come back together.
I like hearing
because
you
I'm
talk.
not going to stand here. Did you?
I like hearing you talk
am I here?
because you explain to your child. I thought when you said that you would take a timeout, you said that in your head, like, I'm going to take a timeout, but you say that to them. It's okay to let your children know how you feel.
Yeah, and I don't have to blame them for what I'm feeling. I'm just saying my simple need is I need to get my head clear right now before I respond to you. So we can always come back, set the boundary later when they've, it might be I come back and I say, when I'm cooled down and I say, you're really upset 10 minutes ago, you were really mad about that. Yeah, you were really frustrated about not being able to play your tablet for 10 more minutes. Well, yeah, all my friends get to do that, and I don't understand this rule. That is really hard because I have different rules than your friends' parents. I get it. Sometimes I want to watch TV to 3 a.m. and that's not a great thing for me though. So I want what's best for you. It's really hard. We have to.
I can hear you.
I don't know. I hear something in the background. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to teach my kids how to think things through logically, but I can't do that if I'm coming from a space where I'm completely angry. So sometimes it takes a few minutes to go, oh, they do have a point. Like, I don't agree with them. I'm not going to go along with everything they say, but they have a point. I would be mad if, if I was here and somebody told me, well, Cynthia, you can't scroll Facebook right now. You need to get off and go do some laundry. That doesn't feel good.
That is true.
So sometimes it's acknowledging, like, yeah, like, I could understand why they're upset about that. No one, as an adult, no one tells us, you can't have that piece of chocolate cake. We get to make all those decisions for ourselves. So sometimes it's just empathizing with our kids because they really do have so little control over their day. And that is really difficult.
Okay, raise your camera just a little bit. I
Better.
cannot believe you have a 13-year-old. I mean, good jeepers, you look so young. Okay. I would like you to again put your website in the comments. If there's anybody that would like to talk to Cynthia on a one-on-one basis, they are welcome. Cynthia is great. She is a great person to talk to. Also, me and her message each other all the time. So she is the expert of boundaries. Okay, so if you need any questions answered about boundaries and setting boundaries, and a lot of children think boundaries are rules and regulations, but like she said, it's just to keep you safe. And it's okay if they get mad. I mean, everybody can't be your friend because it's important, but they do have a voice, right? They do have a voice. Okay, I just
Yeah.
do you have any questions or anything? Or anybody have any questions for Cynthia? And then Cynthia, what is your wisdom of the night? Go ahead, lay it on us.
Oh, I feel like this topic is just so close to my heart because I feel like boundaries are so closely tied to if you struggle with anger as a parent, it's so normal. And it's often tied. So this is one of the most practical ways we can dive into that because it's often when we're inconsistent with our boundaries or we don't know how to set boundaries, then we become angry. So for years, I was inconsistent. I would set a boundary and then I would take it back. And I didn't realize that that was fueling a lot of my discontent because I was like, well, they don't listen to me. Well, because I was not being the leader. I was not staying true to my word when I would say something. So I feel like this is one of those topics where you can, once you learn how to do it, it flows into other areas of your life. Um, what you're willing to do to people, how you can find solutions together. One of those great topics for parents.
That's cool. That's cool. So you set a boundary. If it works, keep it in progress. Oh my goodness, Cynthia, we are wrapping up in time, but I am glad that you became my guest speaker. It was great. We will always love to have you back. Any other topics you want to say, just say, hey, Jules, I got another topic. And then we will have you to come back. So thank you so much. And she did put her website in the comment section. So please contact Cynthia if you have any questions for her. Anything else, Cynthia?
Thank you. No, thank you so much for having me. I love it.
Thank you so much, and we will share our space again. Lana,
Okay.
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.